Hi all, how are you? It is a very dreary, rainy, windy morning here in my neck of the woods and in Western New York. And aside from Easter Day, which was absolutely warm and sunny and spectacular, it has been very overcast and rainy and windy here. It's not unusual though for March in this area, but I think we're all looking forward to something a little bit brighter. So that's what we have here today. But I've been thinking our theme for today is seasonal type projects, books, and things that are on my mind about the blog and this podcast coming up here. And I'm soliciting your ideas on such things. So I would love it if you would write in and let me know what you think. So, okay, let's get started. So yeah, I'm feeling really very content right now with where I am in terms of this part of my creative life. I've been blogging since mid 2008, which is really hard to believe at this point, but I have. Time goes by quickly. But it has really evolved and changed over the years. I mean, when I started, it was really something that only friends and people I knew in real life, friends and family read, not very many people. And it was definitely an online journal of sorts. And back in the day, I used to write 5 posts a week for the most part, with, aside from vacations and holidays and such. And they would be very short. I go back and look at them. Sorry, audio people, I just bumped my recorder. I go back and look at those posts sometimes, and it's very different from the way that I approach my posts now, but that's normal. That's a very natural thing over time. So I'm just really happy with where I'm at right now. I feel like I have more of a community of people that enjoy the topics that I tend to write and talk about. And I get interaction here on the blog now, which is very, very meaningful to me. And ever since I really changed things up last year, right around this time of year, I've really noticed a big difference. In like a couple of years, there's been a slow change, but the past year has been the most dramatic change. And the past year has seen the introduction of these video posts and audio now. And it's very exciting for me. I really, really enjoy it. So now that we're in the spring season, spring is this time of renewal for me every year in every part of my life. I start to get all excited about new things and new yarn and cotton color, spring colors. I become obsessed with pastels at this time of year. But it just brings this freshness and newness to everything in my life. I've been kind of whirling around my house with this can of cleanser that I'm spraying, and we need to be, something that I haven't touched since last year, and we need to go in here and we need to clean it out and throw things away and freshen it up. And so that's where I'm at. And I'm thinking about that in terms of this enterprise, the blog, and my new audio endeavors. So I've been thinking, this is a small thing, but for me, it's somewhat new still, so I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. What I'm thinking of doing coming up here in the next, I'd like to say the next week or so, but I can't always promise that things are going to go as planned. So in the next very short while, I would like to jazz up the audio version of Tea Time a little bit and get some little intro music or sounds or something, so it sounds a little bit more professional if you just subscribe to the audio feed. And I notice I have a few new subscribers on the audio feed, which is extremely exciting. So I'm gonna try to do that, and then we'll just sort of see where Tea Time takes us in the months here coming up. In terms of the types of topics I talk about and our structure. I've changed it a little bit since it started, but on the whole, I think that the feeling, the ambiance is the same. So if you have any ideas about that, I'm very open to hearing them. I just really enjoy doing these every week, and I want to make them as good as possible. So I solicit your suggestions. So yeah, I'm going to be on the lookout for, making the audio files sound more like a regular podcast. So we'll see how that goes. And, everything over in terms of over with the podcast I'm doing with Christina, I'm very, very pleased with our first episode and how well received it was. And so we're planning our April episode right now, and we're going to be looking for your ideas for where we go with that podcast as well. And we're very, very excited and happy about it. So you'll be hearing from us soon, soon, soon. Okay, so in terms of the blog, I had spoken with you a couple weeks ago about the Catholic Book Club. I've been doing this for, I guess, a couple of years now. And the way that it started out is that I had a list of books listed along the right sidebar. And I would have about 3 or 4 months mapped out at a time. And it was every month. There would be a date. It was the fourth Wednesday, I think. And so I'd have the date there for all of the chosen books. And, I would set that up so that there was always 3 or 4 there, so that people would know what was coming up and could read along with just some of them and not others if they chose. And at first it was all Catholic nonfiction. Then I added in some Catholic fiction. And then around, I don't know, December or so, or January of this year, I wrote or spoke in a tea time, and I can't remember, about the book club. And I just found that I was really stressing myself out with the monthly deadline, which is all totally self-imposed. But it was getting my reading time, as I'm sure many of you can sympathize, when you have children at home and or other things in your life that are just very time consuming. That could come out in any number of ways. But my reading time is just not as much as I'd like it to be. So it was getting to be hard for me to read anything but the book club book. And since I was really boxing myself into a corner of it being spiritual reading, which of course is a good thing, don't get me wrong, but then I wasn't able to read anything else. And I'm a librarian. Okay, I'm a reader, as you would be able to easily tell. I have always loved to read, and my reading taste is quite varied. I certainly like reading Catholic books, but I like reading a lot of secular titles as well, and both fiction and nonfiction. So I decided back in January-ish to mix it up. And we talked about not having a monthly deadline, that I would just have a list of books of upcoming titles, and when I was reading one and I figured I was going to be posting a review within the month, I was going to be finishing and posting a review within the month, I would put the date up onto the list so that you could see it, and if you were reading that book, you could prepare and try to finish around the same time. And I really thought that was going to work. In reality, it hasn't exactly worked out the way that I would have liked. I'm just finding that I'm like putting it off. I'm not really staying on task, and months are going by without me touching any of the books on the list. And there's a number of reasons for this. So now the list, importantly, now the list does include a myriad of titles. There are some Catholic titles on there, and there's some secular titles on there, which is great. But the reason that I think that it isn't working out the way that I would have liked is that I am in so many different arenas of my life. I'm spontaneous and an improviser. And when I created this list back in January, I came up like, oh, I want to read this, I want to read this, and this would be a great title for the winter, and this would be great for the spring. So I ended up with something like 6 books on that list. Well, time goes by, and I get interested in other books. And it's not that I'm not still interested in the books on the list, but I may not end up reading them right now. I become inspired by something that I just really want to pick up and read right at this instant, and that's not on the list. And so therefore I keep putting off the books that are on the list. And I think what this is telling me is the following. I think what would work better is if I just took a more relaxed approach. Wouldn't that be so much better for me all around if I just relaxed more? I think that's true. I'm very type A. I would like to take a more relaxed approach to the book club. I definitely still want something. I read all the time, and I am a librarian, and it just makes sense for me to talk about books on my blog. So I'm going to still be doing that, but I think that what I'll do is, I was admiring Catholic Moms online book club just yesterday. They're reading a book right now that I'm actually really interested in, and they're already somewhat through the book, because the way that they do it is that they just discuss a chapter or a number of chapters at a time. This book happens to have a number of different shorter chapters, so they're reading segments of those chapters at a time. And it goes on for a prolonged stretch. So they'll have, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 of these a year. And it'll be a couple of months that they'll just be talking about one book. And then they'll just, each, I don't know, I think it's every week or 2, they'll have a post reviewing the chapter or chapters in question, and people respond in the comments. And they go on like that for a couple months. And what's nice about that is you can kind of take your time with it, and you can read other things at the same time. And yeah, like 4 books a year. So I was looking at that and just thinking, I don't know what I want to do, and I would like your feedback on that. Would you like, if you were to read what I'm reading so that we could discuss it together, would you prefer to discuss the whole book at the same time? Or would you prefer to discuss like a chapter or a segment, probably more likely a segment of chapters at a time over a period of months? What do you think? You readers out there, let me know. I would really love to hear what you think about that. And so I think I'd like to know where to go from there on your ideas for that. And then I think what I'll do is just, I'll have like one book like periodically. It's possible that I could include other reviews in there from time to time, but I'm not going to box myself in with regard to the books I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be inspired by something. I'm going to talk and post about, I'm going to be reading this book, and we'll kind of build some excitement. Who wants to read along? And then we'll all start reading together, and we can take a couple of months with it, and like, that's okay. I can let myself relax into that. And then we can talk about it either in stages or together the whole book at the end. So maybe the way that we'll start, I had talked about this a couple weeks back too. I have this book, Divine Mercy for Moms, and I'm actually going to be reviewing this book for Catholic Library World. I write reviews for them regularly, but I think it would be nice to read this book with you too, and we could discuss it on the blog. I would have a different approach, I'm sure, to the review that I would write on the blog rather than in the journal, because the audience is totally different. So that makes it more fun. I think it's good that I would be able to have a different approach to it. And I know at least one person had commented that last time I talked about that book that they were interested in my thoughts on it. So maybe you'd like to read along. So let me know what you think about that. And since I have to read this book anyway, that might be a good way to get us started. And then we can then maybe pick up a fiction read for the summer or something like that. So thoughts. And so I won't have that longer list on the sidebar anymore. I think what I'll do is just have, this is the book I'm going to be reading coming up, join me type of a thing. And I want to see how that goes. Trying something new. I remember I was listening to Father Roderick's, one of his podcasts recently. I think it was The Walk. I like both of his shows, The Break and The Walk. And he was talking about new projects and like making goals for yourself and trying not to get yourself into a place where you can't finish everything that you promised that you would. I certainly relate to that. So he was talking about podcasts, that he was reviewing all of the podcasts that he currently does, and was thinking about, well, should I continue? Should I combine some? Like, what should I do? Because he does multiple podcasts in addition to the ones, even the 2 that I listen to, he does more than that. And I remember him saying, just because you start something, and so he was talking about a certain show that he did, is you don't have to do it for all time and eternity. Like, it's okay if you decide not to continue with something because you've just moved on and you're just not as interested in that project anymore, or that topic. And so, the book club, I have always stuck to it because, like, I'm a librarian and I need to be doing this, reviewing books on my blog. Well, sure. But I want to do it because I want to do that. I don't have to do that, I just need to change the way that I'm approaching it. So I think that we're gonna try this, because why not, and see how it goes. The book club can be something that is different throughout different stages of our lives, and that's good, right? So write in and let me know what you think. I would really love to hear what you think. But I think that I'm going to change up our little sidebar, and if you would like to read Divine Mercy for Moms, join me. I would really love to have you. I'm finishing up a book right now that it's a shorter fiction piece that I promised the author I would provide an endorsement for. And I'm hoping to finish it this weekend. And so we can sort of get started next week as our like big launch of the new book club format. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear, and I would just love to hear how your spring is going, and if you have any summer plans, and if you have any suggestions for tea time, for things that you'd like me to talk about, for things you'd like Christina and I to talk about on Planned Not Scripted, or anything you'd like me to write about. We're in this together, so let's collaborate. I really, really love working in collaboration with other people and solidifying that friendship that I feel with all of you. So I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week, and I will see you then. Bye.